How's it going, guys? JP back at you once again for the third edition of 7 Days of Horror. This is Stephen King adaptations, and this is the seventh and final day in this 7 Days of Horror. The film I chose for the seventh and final day is actually kind of a bad choice. We're talking Stephen King's Desperation from the year 2006. It actually went into production in 2004, so it took a little while to get made. Directed by Mick Garris. This guy is very familiar with, Stephen King projects. He did The Stand, which we've already talked about, Bag of Bones, which we've already talked about, Riding the Bullet, and I'm sure he's done, or at least been a part of, some other Stephen King works. I'm pretty sure there's one that I'm forgetting at least. This one has a tagline of, "In this town there are no accidents." And first off, this is a TV movie, which I didn't know when I was watching, but afterwards it kind of did have that feel when I was, doing a little research on the film. It turns out it was a TV movie. Kind of definitely has that quality to it. I gotta say that this one was not very fun at all. This is probably the worst Stephen King adaptation that I've ever seen. And when I say adaptation, I don't actually mean in terms of the source material and how it was adapted to film. I don't mean it is the worst in that way. I just mean out of all the films that I've seen that are based on Stephen King works, this is probably the worst one, because I've only read a couple of his books, so I don't know how the original story was, but I hear it was pretty good actually, so it's probably a pretty terrible adaptation in terms of, source material and that stuff as well. But I'm just talking about the film in general. It's not very fun. It's not very entertaining. It is not engaging at all. This film does not pull you in. You're not interested by any of the characters. Every once in a while during this film, as it just felt like I was seeing a series of events and images, and none of them really stuck out as a strong, flowing narrative. It just was scene after scene of boring. Every once in a while, though, you would see something that looked cool, like a bunch of dead bodies in a town, and it would kind of pique your interest, and then it would just go, bam, right back down. But I guess I should actually talk about what the film's about. It starts out with a couple of travelers as they are, making their way through somewhere. I believe they're in Nevada. And they get pulled over. This cop, played by Ron Perlman, who you might recognize from Sons of Anarchy, that's what I mainly know him from, pulls them over and is kind of cool at first, and then finds a bag of weed in their trunk. He then hauls them into the town of Desperation, where they are thrown in jail. One of them is shot, and the male is shot, and the girlfriend is thrown in jail, along with other people who were already imprisoned there. There's a young boy who is very religious. He's praying a lot. We learn later on through a flashback that his friend was hit by a drunk driver while they was riding their bikes, and he was near death, and the kid started praying and promised God, and then his friend miraculously was healed, or didn't die. So he's very religious, and that plays a big part in the story. We also find out, we see a little dead girl as they're going into the jail. We find out that was his sister, and it's very, the parents are kind of like, why would God take your sister? The little kid's sticking to his religion and stuff. Bunch of stuff I really didn't care about, really. It just didn't work for me. It just felt shoddy all the way around. I did like that Ron Perlman, his face, the cop, the sheriff, his face would crack, and it started looking more unhuman as time went on, and I did like that, but that was something very small. It turns out there's some deal with possession and evil spirit released from a mine, and that's kind of what's going on here. Like I said, very interesting and entertaining. I really don't have a whole lot to say about this one. I was just completely out of it. I could not get into it. I was just kind of watching it, waiting for it to be over. So, I mean, it's pretty bad. I gotta be honest. And I mainly like every Stephen King film I've ever seen, pretty much that I could think of. So it's pretty bad for this one to, you know, for me to not like it that much. I would give this film a 4 out of 10. Um, I don't recommend you check it out at all. I wouldn't even really pick it up for $1 or something, which is what I got it for. It's not even really worth sitting through. So, with that said, guys, that's about it. And I don't know what I'm gonna do for the next 7 days of horror. I'm thinking about possibly returning to foreign horror, maybe foreign horror, part 2, or doing something different. If anybody has an opinion on that, drop me a comment. Let me know, would you rather see 7 days of found footage, 7 days of vampires, 7 days of werewolves, or 7 days of foreign horror 2? Something like, I'm thinking about one of those. So let me know. Peace out, guys.